Hi, I'm Edgar Hernandez.
And I'm Nuri Robles. And this is
Bar Talking
Bar, your access to the heartbeat of New York City's bar and hospitality scene.
Hosted straight from the city that never sleeps, we sit down with bartenders, brands and ambassadors, hospitality pros, and cocktail lovers.
Whether it's the art of bartending, the hustle behind hospitality, or the wildest bar tales, expect raw conversations and industry secrets.
Listen to the people who pour your favorite cocktails and keep the nightlife alive.
If you love bars, spirits, and the stories that bring them to life, follow us, share, and subscribe to keep the conversations flowing.
The podcast that you didn't know you need.
New episodes weekly. Hello. This is Bar Talking Bar. I'm Nuri Robles.
And I'm Edgar Hernandez.
And today we have our first episode for 2026. And we are very excited
to have our dear friend come in and visit for the first week of January, celebrating Dry January. But before we start talking about Dry January, we want to introduce our friend,
Vero
Chaparro. Aplausos.
Thank you for having me and for my first podcast ever.
Oh,
yes.
thank you.
Here's to not getting canceled.
Yeah, that's right.
It's an honor. Yeah. So yeah, we were saying, Happy New Year, Vero.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
What a great way to kick off the year, you guys.
That's right.
Thank you so
Still
much
waiting
for
for my Three Kings gift, if there's ever any.
I came with some gifts.
Yeah.
No, you did. I'm just saying there for the audience, so feel free to send us
have
some
our
You can
gifts.
show them off later, Oh, wow, the audience. Hello.
I'm so happy that we're starting this nice conversation with a good spirit. Thank you for coming. We love the fact that you're here. We want to know, actually the audience wants to know who's Vero Fonseca. Vero Fonseca.
Ay, wow. ¿Sabes qué ese es el apellido de mi abuela?
Yeah.
That is my dad's mom's last name. It's Fonseca.
That's how I remember you.
What do you mean?
I don't know, somehow. I don't know.
Somehow.
My head.
I might have told you that though, because
Yeah.
we've gotten into conversation about like lineage.
Yeah.
And,
Oh,
like,
that's amazing.
Our history and stuff. No, pero Chaparro Osorio, technically.
All right.
If you go to Colombia.
Oh.
Okay, Vero. So we have this podcast because we want to show and present the person. Who is this person who works in this industry before bartender or brand ambassador or owner? So please tell us, who is Vero Chaparro?
Oh, wow. I am Vero from the Sea on Instagram. The brand was strong, so we kept it. But what do you want to know? There's so much to tell. I guess...
Where are you from? Where were you born?
I'm from Miami, born and raised in Miami. And I really worked in retail for like my early working years, starting at like 15 years old, 16. And then I did a hospitality college program with Disney.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. And
Secrets.
yeah. And so I signed up because of a friend. Mm-hmm. I loved Disney growing up. We went quite a lot, especially being in Miami. Orlando was just a hop away. So we went quite often, but I didn't know that they had a college program. And so I went to apply and I got signed up to the hospitality program, and I ended up working at 2 of their resorts. As a front desk concierge. I worked as like the person who checks you in. And then I also ended up doing kind of like the resort running. I like to learn new things and get my hand involved in many things. So once I was bored from the front desk, I was like, okay, what else? And then they put me to concierge and I was like, cool, what else? And so in 8 months, I did those three roles, and it was cool because I got to kind of see. You could also like sign up for shifts in other resorts, so you could kind of apply and see many things. But that kind of took me, I think, outside of my comfort zone, which was retail. And then hospitality and hotels is phenomenal. I respect everybody who does it. It's fantastic. But I think I wanted, again, just to kind of get involved with another aspect of it. So I know that many people are going to maybe roll their eyes at this, but I went on Groupon and I found this like bartending school like thing, and I signed up for bartending school, and it was really just kind of like for fun at first, but they also have job placement, so I ended up going through with my 40 hours, and it was so much fun. And my teacher at the time, we still chat every now and then, but he was so cool, and it almost became a fun challenge because he always would look at me and kind of be like, "You're like too goody-goody to be a bartender." And I was like, what the heck about me is it that makes me seem so goody-goody? And I get it. I'm like, I can be a wholesome character sometimes, if not most of the time. But yeah, and so that kind of like in my mind just like set me on the mission of like, I'm going to prove that I can do this and that I have the edge and like the character. And so I started working at an Italian like restaurant as like a cocktail server, you know, 1 day a week, the lunch shift.
And this was also in Miami?
Yes, in Miami. So my entire bartending career was in Miami, for the most part. I mean, I've done like guest shifts here and there in New York, but I've not like worked in New York as a bartender.
Okay.
And then, yeah, that's kind of how I started, was as a cocktail server, because they didn't trust me even though I went to bartending school, or rather, especially because I went to bartending school, that they were just like, here, take the lunch shift, which is, you know, at the time, especially in that area and in that restaurant, is just a lot of iced teas and sodas. There were no, you know, non-alc cocktails back then. So it wasn't challenging enough. And then, you know, and then the time came where they were like, okay, cool, you're up. And so they put me in service bar, and I loved it. It moved so fast. And
so when you took the bartender course, how old were you?
So I was 22 when I got my first bartending job, because I did become a bartender in that place. So I would say that's definitely where I learned kind of like the speed, how to like practice the build of a round. And I worked with a lot of veteran bartenders, and they'd been in the game for a long time. And shout out to them, Nadia, because she helped me just kind of get curious, right? She was the one that always would just be like, every time you come into work, just grab a bottle, read it, look it up, do your homework, just to know what you have and to talk about it. Because at the end of the day, that's just going to give you more to talk to guests about, right? You'll learn kind of and taste through them, like, because then you'll have your own opinions. And as a bartender, we sell that conversational aspect that plays a big role in the hospitality, you know, putting the napkin to acknowledge that they've arrived, you know, giving everyone a glass of water, serve, you know, does the order in which you serve people and all that jazz. I would say I definitely learned it there. And then from there, I went on to work at another restaurant, and the bar team was full. So they were like, start as a server, move up to the bar eventually. I became a floor manager before I ever even worked behind the bar. But, you know, it's one of those experiences where, like, the manager says, like, you're not bar material. And I was like, interesting. Mm-hmm. And so then I only bartended there if they, like, were in a pinch. So if it was, like, a really busy shift, like a St. Patrick's Day is what comes to mind for me is...
You will jump in the bar.
They'd be like, we need your help. And I'd be like, now you need my help. How convenient. But it was always a lot of fun. I mean, it was a great bar. It was always very busy. And I've made some incredible friends along the way that have stuck around, you know, whether we talk once a year, once every few years, once a month, once every few months. I still have friends from all of those eras in my life. And then from there, I kind of bopped around the Coral Gables in Miami area a bit, and then went over to work at Monty's, which just was kind of like it's like a marina bar. So a lot of like frozen drinks, and the experience that I had prior to that was a lot of speed cocktail. Mm-hmm. Okay. Just because it was high volume restaurants. I wouldn't necessarily say it was like elevated cocktails. I would say it was like classics. Some of them had their signature cocktails and they were delicious, but it was very high volume. Mm-hmm. So when I got to Monty's, the owner, again, didn't know him. This was when I already got the job. He was just like, I hope you can keep up with these guys. And I was just like, you don't know me, man.
You haven't seen me before.
You haven't seen me behind the bar. And I feel like I crushed it. I loved service bar. I'll say, like, service bar was my favorite. I love kind of the hyper focus of it. I love locking in. And, you know, this is when the printers, I don't know if the printers still do that. I know some of them do, but when they print the ticket.
Yeah.
And this was also a very busy spot. It's like one of the most affordable beers you can get on South Beach. At least it was back then. I don't know about now. But I just had those tickets just like wrapped around my head and just like...
They just kept coming.
You know, yeah. But it was so fun to just, again, lock in and just kind of like focus on this task at hand. Working the bar and the other points were also really fun. And we had great regulars. And then from there, so I started getting involved with the USBG like right when I started.
Okay.
Because of, again, my friend Nadia and another great mentor of mine, Alex Alfonso. He was I think like the treasurer, the vice president. Sorry, Alex, if I don't remember. But he was also incredibly, just like he really pushed me to kind of like get more involved. And so that's just really kind of how it all started. Once I went to my first USBG meeting at the time with Marita as president, the community was very, very tight-knit. And, you know, the USBG, what it was back then, I feel like every place needs something like that. I don't know what the chapters look like in other places, but at the time, what it looked like was the best because everyone was so tight-knit. We all went to each other's bars to support each other. We all learned from each other, you know. There were mentors, you know, just 5 feet away, at least once a month if you weren't already going to visit them in their bars. And so it was, you know, I didn't finish college. So for me, it was just kind of like, let me learn from people. And so I always just kind of took that
education that you get.
Yeah, like I just took I had to like work up the gall or the courage to like talk to this person who was so admirable in the industry and bend their ear a little bit about something that I was curious in the moment or kind of what my goals were and any suggestions on what direction I should go in. And I think very, very young me would have never done that.
I was going to ask you that. Like, you know, we also say that these days people really think about hospitality or like bartending as a profession, right? Because back in the day also we were like, many people also come from like acting and like seeing this as a side job. And the other part, like I hear from other voices is like, you know, my parents didn't think this is a profession or your family. So in your case, you have support from your family. How
no way. My mom was very much like get the job with the salary and the benefits. And I just kind of went against all of that. You know, it's not for lack of trying, I don't think. It's just that nothing that I found like I didn't like it. I didn't enjoy it. I tried an office job and I feel like my life has also been very serendipitous because in my career bartending, there were also moments in between that I think led to where I am today. Okay. So, or have influenced or have been a learning that I picked up at a time that I didn't know that I would need that for where I am today. And I feel that way about every single job that I've had and every single person that I've met in every role that I've taken or every bar that I've worked at or every event that I've worked. You know, I think I used to volunteer a lot for helping with events. That was a kind of a thing that the USBG, our chapter back then, had, was that they would work with local brand people to help them organize or set up, I don't know, like the one that I can think of off the top of my head was the Woodford Manhattan competition. And I wasn't competing, but, you know, I helped set it up and I met the brand rep for it and I met like the regional manager for it. And I think just seeing and getting my hands in, you know, the mix and like getting the experience, you know, years later, like they still reach out to me to check in and see how I'm doing or,
cool.
You know, if we see them, we recognize each other, we say hi. And it's been so many years. And just from those, again, I wasn't getting paid for it, and I'm not saying people shouldn't get paid, but I think there is a lot of value in learning, right? And in the time that we put in to learn in moments where we wouldn't normally have access to it, right? So So yeah, that's between all amongst all my jobs, I got the opportunity to work for a small wine importer. It's like the administrative manager, and I think that gave me a little insight as to like what the what the computer like desk version of hospitality and beverage and brand work can look like. Really, just like very, very surface level because I wasn't doing the work itself, but that's where I found out what a brand ambassador was, And in that moment, I was in that room and I see it on the screen and they're like, yeah, we're not going to do this brand ambassador program. And I kind of looked around and I was like, what's a brand ambassador? And they kind of just looked at me and they're like, oh, it's like bartenders that we hire to like represent the brand. And I'm like, I'm a bartender. I can do this.
So when you were bartending and you were offered to be a brand ambassador at this point?
No. So that was just me learning that was even an option, because I think there's so many bars that exist. I think the world that we know from being like very involved in the industry is very small. It's a small bubble of, reputable bars that we frequent quite often. Yes. Very reputable talents, very, wonderful, beautiful people. But I think there's another massive bubble of bars that we never go to, right? And bartenders that work at those bars, or even servers that work at those bars that maybe want to be bartenders, that don't even know that this tiny little bubble exists. And so I didn't know that a brand ambassador was a thing because I wasn't exposed to that at the time. I knew about the sales reps, and I had kind of asked one of the sales reps at one of my jobs. He had like a bottle of whiskey on the bar and was just I looked at him and I was like, what do you do? Like, what is your job? He's
giving his bottles for free.
And he was like, well, I'm here so you can taste some of this. Do you want to taste some of this? And I was like, yeah, I want to taste some of this. And so, I kind of looked at him after the whole experience and I was like, how did you get there? How was this your job? Mm-hmm. And he was like, oh, I went to college for hospitality and, one thing led to the other and here I am. And I was like, damn, I have to go back to college. But I was like, there might be another way, right? And I think so that happened before I found out about what a brand ambassador was. So I feel like that's when those two dots connected, right? I got this little piece of information from this restaurant that I worked at called Booyah. And now I'm working for another wine importer and they're talking about hiring bartenders to represent a brand. And I'm like, wait, these two connect. I feel like this is my time. That's so close. I can like see it. I can touch it almost. Yeah. And then at the time, I had a friend whose brother-in-law was starting a distillery. He didn't work in the industry at all, but they wanted to start a whiskey, but they actually started a gin and a rum down in Miami. The brand called Big Cypress Distillery. They're still there, I believe. Shout out to Fernando.
Fernando, shout out.
Was the guy.
How you doing?
He's a smart guy, this guy. So much information in his brain. So I just learned what a brand ambassador was, and I heard of this and I was like, I can do it. Like, I will do it for you for free. I just want to learn, honestly. And, you're a small brand and I'm asking you not to pay me. And they were like, well, we are going to have to pay you something. It was super small, but, a nice gesture, I think, on their part, considering I was willing to do it for free. But I think, there's a lot of value in the experience that you gain from kind of contributing your time, right? I think time is, the saying time is money. It's like time is your literal currency. Exactly. And so I didn't have the experience, but they paid me with, I think, all the opportunities that I took it upon myself to learn, I think. And, I had great mentors kind of along the way guide me. He also Fernando connected me with one of my great mentors now, Gabe Urrutia. And Gabe was just wonderful. I'd never been a brand ambassador. And so we had some lunch and he kind of started giving me the lowdown on kind of how to even approach the job and tried to poach me for other things too along the way, which was very cool. And I think, again, shout out to my mom for the work ethic that she gave me, because I don't think that without seeing her kind of just make things happen, I don't think that I would have had the same tenacity had I gotten another mom. Yes.
Shout out to your mom.
Shout out to my mom.
Saludos.
Saludos, Adriana. But so, yeah, I mean, just kind of, I didn't go to college, but I think I always knew in myself that I learn through doing. And so kind of putting myself out there to just, I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to sell this thing, but we're going to make it happen. What do I do? What do I know is I know how to bartend. So I would start doing kind of guest bartending shifts for the brand with a little menu with the product at bars. And I would just literally offer to pop up at bars. And then I would work with, you guys might know her actually, Maria Camila.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So her and I go way back. And
Caminita.
and so her and I would do pop-ups with a brand that she was working with at the time. We met kind of, again, very serendipitously around kind of the same time when we were both kind of starting, kind of breaking into as brand people in like the Miami community. And we would just do a bunch of bar pop-ups. And I think my goal was to get experience. And in Miami, you know, Bacardi has a humongous presence. And so I always wanted to work with them. And I applied for several jobs, but again, kind of not experienced enough.
Okay.
And I started with Big Cypress in like 2016, I think it was. 2016, and I was with them until 2018. And
For
so,
2 years.
For 2 years. So for 2 years, working my 2 bar jobs and doing the guest bar shifts, I had absolutely no days off.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, when did you time to... The only time to hang out was when you were doing the pop-ups.
Yeah. No time off. Not that I wish that on anybody, right? I think hindsight's 2020. Vision, you see clear when you're like looking back on things. And I would not encourage anyone to work 7 days a week ever.
Was it like throughout 2 years, 7 days a week?
Almost consistently, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure I took time off like here and there, maybe like a weekend at a time, but it took a day where Anthony Nader, my friend, he just kind of looked at me and we were roommates and I was sick in bed and I was on the couch in our living room and it'd been like, I think it was like 4 days straight that I just was not getting any better. And he just looked at me, he's like, get up. And I was like, what? I'm sick. I'm dying. And he's like, get up or you can do this on the beach. We used to live on the beach at the time.
Yeah. Get some sun.
Yeah. We used to live on the beach. We had an incredible apartment on South Beach. And so we took his little Vespa to the beach and we were just kind of floating in the water. And he looks at me, he's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, what do you mean? What am I doing?
I'm just swimming here in the sea.
That's exactly what I said. I was like, I'm
my fish.
floating. And he goes, yeah, but you're working 2 bar jobs. And you're also working a brand job that requires you to do pop-ups for this brand job. What is the goal? What are you trying to accomplish with all these jobs? And, I had never been asked that question. It's like a very big kind of moment of reflection that I had to kind of sit with because I was like, well, I'm working at this bar because it makes me a lot of money. And I'm working at this bar because the experience. And, this is my baby. This brand is my baby. And I want to make sure that it's taken care of and it does really well. And I'm invested in the success of it. And I can't let go of any of these. I need them all. And he just kind of looked at me. He's like, you're going to have to pick one to let go of because you are getting sick because you're not taking time off. And, again, kind of one of those very real moments where I hadn't really, I was in so like the momentum, I was in it.
Do you think it was more to prove a strong person or it was more like I'm really hungry of like, I want to do this?
I think the bars that I was working at were very cool and I liked working at those bars. I'm also, and my friends will tell you this, like I want to do it all. Mm-hmm. I want to do everything. I think the toughest question for me to answer when, a manager of mine at some point, because this question comes up a lot, is like, okay, what do you want to do next? You're in this job now. Where do you want to go from here? I never have just one answer. I'm like, I want to learn a little bit of that. I want to learn a little bit of that. I want to do this. I want to do that. And that's never, not that it's not a good answer, but I don't think that's the answer they're looking for. They're more like, what direction do you want me to steer you in, you know? And I think that was really it. I loved the bars that I was working at. I thought that they were all so different and kind of fulfilled different pieces, right? I got to go to 1-800-Lucky and be my nightlife speed bartender. And I got to go to Broken Shaker, really 27 restaurant on the second floor. I started up in the service wall, which is downstairs in this little room because it only served the dining tables. And so it was this little closet service bar. But, you know, then we started kind of working up there as well. And that fed kind of like the creative cocktail person in me. Would I say I'm like incredibly advanced and experienced in any technique at all? Probably not. But it, you know, I think had I stuck with it, I could have. But I was already, I think, on the mission of working for a brand, especially because a couple of opportunities with Bacardi had come up, and I was like, oh, I'm so close. I can feel it. And then, you know, the brand, again, like I was the first brand ambassador. So I think definitely maybe a little ego in like, I don't want to let this go.
Yeah, because
I started kind of getting it involved in the industry and it felt so good, you know? I felt so accomplished and like how cool that I get to say that I'm the first I was the first brand ambassador for this brand, a local brand, a delicious brand with, you know, really incredible people and
when did
hard to let go of, I think, you know.
When did you move to the next or how?
So in 2018, I feel like 2018 was a very big year for me. 2018 was, I think, when I met Maria Camila for the first time. We started doing all those pop-ups. And then like a lot of pop-ups. We were doing so many pop-ups. We had our own little concept and everything called Better Together, and we had photos, and it was, you know, there was flyers, and it was so cute. But then I met my wonderful, I call her my fairy job mother, Teresa, and she, like I saw her do a brand presentation at my bar, and I was just like in awe. She is such a phenomenal storyteller, and she also is an actor, you know? And so she like puts her whole full body. She's a singer. She had us clapping, snapping. Wow. It left such an impression on me watching her deliver a brand presentation that way. And, you know, I saw her and I was like, wow, I don't know if I'll ever sing to people, but like how cool that, you know, she really made it her own and showed up with what she brings to the table and what she really enjoys doing to tell this brand story. And so with Big Cypress at the time, very small brand, like I said, it cost a lot of money to hire more people. And now I think I had kind of done what I could. I'd reached kind of like my limit on like what I myself can do with this like specific position in this specific era of my life, with the experience that I had or that I didn't have, you know? And so I got a little curious, and so I just started looking for jobs online, and I saw a position based in New York covering the Northeast. I did not realize what a big position. Like now I say that to myself and I'm like, wow, that I really went for that. And like, I got it. That's crazy.
That's cool.
That's crazy.
Talking about tenacity.
I know. Like it's, I'm literally thinking about, I've never thought about this actually, the way that I'm thinking about it right now, but I see what a big region that is. And in my mind, I'm like, whoa, like you really you were like, whatever, like, let's try. And so I texted her and I sent her a screenshot and I was like, does this mean I get to learn from you and like work with you? Because if so, then I would love, you know, a shot at it. And so the rest is kind of history from there. That brought me to New York and got to work with Teresa and Stefan, who's also a phenomenal human being. And I believe he's still with Tequileño, actually.
Okay.
What a cool guy. Like, those two incredible people. And then great mentor figures to have kind of throughout the way and guide me. I think I really came into this incredibly green, very, very... it's a whole different beast when you go from a small craft brand to a large brand like Absolut.
And to a different state too, because you have to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
And what was this? Was this during 2020?
No, so this was, I moved February 3rd, 2019.
Oh, so a year prior to
To
craziness.
A year prior to the pandemic. And it is hard. You know, it was winter. I'm coming from Miami. I didn't know how to buy the right coat until like 3 years after I moved here. And so I was, freezing, the winter blues, hardcore.
You think you can hang with a sweater or a jacket or hoodie?
Yeah, I mean, I'll never forget that blue Zara coat. And I'm one of those people that, like, when I listen to music, I listen to the same thing over and over again.
Yeah. Me too.
I like the same pop artist just on repeat. And so Ariana Grande, I think that was like her Positions album or something. But I still, like, when some of those songs come up on my... I honestly, it transports me back to that blue Zara coat that did absolutely nothing while I'm like walking to the subway, not knowing anything. And so I moved to New York, right, for this job, and not knowing anybody. Not knowing anybody. I knew a few people, but I also, in my mind, I was like, I can't just show up and expect you to drop everything for little old me, to like hang out with little old me. Also, I think people in New York are very ambitious. They're very, they're very forward driven. They've always got something going on. They really don't waste time. And even as we were talking about with this, it's like you have your jobs, but you're also coming and spending time dedicating to building this production and putting together a podcast. And I honestly went into New York not knowing what a beast it was, as I'm sure many do. But I was very fortunate in that I did have a brand job. And so I was in a very, very good position where my boss was literally just go meet people. And so that was intimidating and overwhelming and scary all at the same time because, no shade to vodka, but, I think for the industry, a lot of the times it's like, it's just vodka,
Yeah.
And I was like, how am I going to show up to all these bars and be like, hey, buy my vodka? They're going to be like, who the heck are you? And why are you trying to sell me expensive vodka? And so these are all the things that were kind of crossing my mind. And, definitely, I think, again, shout out to Teresa, because I definitely had a moment there where I was like, ugh, I think I might have shot myself in the foot with this. Like, maybe I bit off way more than I could chew. And it wasn't until kind of like I think I hit not as dark of a rock bottom as many can kind of get to, but I think a point where I was like, I need help, like I need to figure this out. I don't really have an option. I need to figure this out. And so I called her and she gave me some really great advice, and I started kind of implementing some self-care kind of routines. I had never really journaled a lot. I'd never really done yoga a lot. I'd never really kind of built these things into my day-to-day. I think in Miami, and this is also something that I really...
To send a brand ambassador gig, it was a lot. You had no time.
Huh?
You had no time back in Miami for what you told us.
Oh, yeah. No, exactly. Exactly. But also I think in Miami, you drive so much in the car, and I loved singing in the car. So like singing in the car...
It was kind of you.
It was a breathing exercise, and I didn't realize that was missing, like, significantly. Mm-hmm. Whether I never acknowledged it in that way as a breathing exercise, but singing in the car at the top of your lungs, like no one's watching, that is literally, that's a breathing exercise.
It's like when you see, when you watch movies and then you see like people driving and like,
it's so fun.
And you realize why.
Yeah, it's so fun. And I did it so carelessly in Miami. And, I didn't have a car here. So I was walking to the train, and I wasn't going to sing while walking to the train. I mean, I could have, but I didn't know, or I'm just not that person. I love everyone who is. When I see people singing, I'm like, oh, I love it. I love how, like, just tenacious, like, I'm going to do it no matter what you think about it.
Just yourself.
Yeah, it's like something to admire for sure. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like I'd lost something that I didn't realize I had lost, which was that, like, it's a coping mechanism in a way, right? Mm-hmm. But I think it's also just like a way to kind of regulate your nervous system and everything. And because my breathing patterns were off because I wasn't singing in the car or whatever. I was very blue. But got through it. Shout out to Teresa again, because I think incorporating those things and her even just emphasizing that that's what was going to bring me back and that actually bringing me back. Along with this, it's like a 4-hour long video that Nader used to just play on repeat in our living room. It's called How to Have the Best Year Ever. It's by Jim Rohn. I don't know anything about him. I just know that the video kind of in some way kind of brought me back to like a stay focused mindset. And so I started playing the video just kind of in the background. And, you pick up little nuggets. It's 4 hours. So, like, I'm not going to watch the full 4 hours. But I would watch clips, as I'm getting ready for work, as I'm getting ready to leave the house. And it just always kind of brought me back. Like, one of the things he says, all you have is what you have. You can't change the seasons as they come and go,
I think I hear it, yeah.
You like, so his thing was like, you can't go into a year saying like, okay, this year I want 2 springs and 2 falls. You can't do that. Winter's coming. Spring is coming. Summer's coming. What am I missing? Fall's coming.
Fall.
It's just, you have to prepare for those things. Prepare for the tougher seasons.
Okay.
And I think that the way in which he says it in the video, like it just always kind of like clicks back in. And I'm like, oh, okay. Something was out of place. It like locked back in and I'm like, all right, I'm back. And so that kind of got me through that. Then the position got dissolved. I ended up moving over to work for Pernod on their agave portfolio. And on that, I was traveling like 3 weeks out of the month. So I was like not really here a whole lot. But I think by that point, I needed that first 6 months to be ready for that next one. And I think that's really kind of when I locked in. I got what the job was. I understood kind of the motion a little bit. Obviously, I've grown tremendously since those jobs.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of learnings and a lot of people that I've met along the way and a lot of mentors that I've connected with throughout the years. And, who I was back then is not who I am now. And I think every experience is a learning experience.
Yeah.
And every job you meet someone who will kind of help guide you to this like next position. Yeah. And yeah, I think that might lead into another question that I think you have for me.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's like, the whole story of Veronica, it shows that you have this hunger for learning, but also you don't get like, you don't, probably you get doubts, but you don't panic. And then, I mean, well, in terms of like,
Just singing.
Yeah.
I'm like, I definitely panic.
But, like, you don't give up.
No, you don't.
That's good. And that's one of the things that you were mentioning about your mom.
Yeah.
That is like, I don't know how she did it, but she did it, right? And that's a good thing. And I feel like that all your experience, since Disney to now, landed to Ritual.
Yeah, and so I actually always tell my sisters, I'm like, if there's a job that they're not necessarily having an easy time with or something, I'm like, listen, we know the work ethic we have, like we know that no matter what, we are not going to let ourselves fall, like, because ultimately we only have ourselves, right? You're the only one that can get yourself up out of bed. You're the only one that can make yourself breakfast. You're the only one that can get yourself to the job. So if you hate this, one, there's always hospitality. We're really good at it. We know it. We can definitely easily just like slide into the motion. There's so many bars and restaurants that we could work at if that's what it comes down to, if that's what you want, Not that it's something to fall back on, but they want, they have other goals in mind. And so that is always, to me, kind of like that's what I always tell them. And it's kind of what I tell myself too, is that if I'm ever in a position where I feel like I absolutely have to just go, I will. I will, because I've got myself. Yeah. And I've got my work ethic and I've got my tenacity, I'm never going to let myself end up in a position where I'm just like, I don't know, not in a good place.
You're not comfortable.
Not comfortable, not accomplishing something. Like I have an obnoxious amount of goals. Like there's so many things to work towards, and I'll never let myself stop because ultimately I'm the only person that I can really count on getting me there and continuing to like work towards wherever I want to be.
We want to invite the audience to listen to us. If you're listening to us on the podcast, on your favorite podcast, we are your favorite podcast by now because you're listening to us.
So then you can listen the story of Vero, but also if you have the chance, you have the time, you can watch the whole episode at in YouTube, and don't forget to subscribe.
Subtitles are there too.
Yes. Hey. So that's very, very interesting, Vero, because, you know, like I told you, we know you as Vero and Ritual, but that's an amazing story. And that's how I feel like now more interested in knowing what is Ritual? Like, tell us.
What is Ritual for the folks who don't know?
Yeah.
And I know we have a couple of expressions here, but there's other that didn't make it to the, well, I actually want to invite all of those to taste it if they can reach to you.
Yeah, please do reach out. If you
tell us about.
I think a lot of people probably have my cell, or if not, reach out to these guys.
That's right.
But okay, so I think why Ritual is like a good place to start during the pandemic. So I was working for booze brands, and during the pandemic, I realized that I really only drank out. I didn't drink at home. I had so much booze at home. And I never drank it. Like, I just used it for events or for samplings or for things, but I never drank it. I was never home making myself a cocktail. And in that moment, I kind of got a little curious, and I was like, I wonder if there's like a non-alcoholic alternative to like this job, right? What is in the bar world right now that I can pursue, but without it being alcohol? Mm-hmm. 2020 was not the year to be looking for a job. So I didn't. I recognized that in that moment I was in a great spot. And so then fast forward, I worked for Team Enterprises for a little while. I met a really dear friend of mine, Dara, there. And fast forward, when I moved back to New York, I saw her and she mentioned that she was working for Ritual. And so I was like, oh, what is that? Because now I knew that it's something that I kind of had in the back of my mind, but I knew we weren't there yet either. And then she told me everything about it, and I was like, that sounds like something that I would want to do. Mm. It's a challenge for sure. It's a whole new category. We've known Old Duels to be the OG NA beer. I remember a 6-pack of it sitting in the back of the cooler that nobody ever really touched until that one person came and drank all 6, and then we ran out of things to give them, so they would leave. And I think we're far from those days, right?
Yeah.
The NA beer lists are crazy long. The NA wines are getting better by the day. There's some really great ones out there right now. And I think now seeing, like the top dogs for non-alc spirits be things like Ritual or SEEDLIP, which I also represent. It's very cool because I think they both bring something very different to the table. And I think it speaks to the fact that people are just looking for variety, right? I think we've come a long way from the Shirley Temples and the punches and stuff.
The cranberry soda.
Yeah, the soda with cranberry. And sometimes people just kind of want something a little bit more that's more sessionable with a little more versatility, a little more body. You're never going to pack the punch that you do from like a Boulevardier. But I think it fills that nostalgia. It fills that like... almost that experience too, right? In the realm of hospitality and kind of how you feel in the space. I think walking around with a glass of orange juice isn't necessarily as attractive as walking around with a non-alc dirty martini.
That's
right?
what I was going to say too. Yeah. Because sometimes sorry to cut you off, sometimes when somebody doesn't want to drink, let's say you have one cocktail and then you don't want to continue drinking because you have other things or other plans, you can also have one mocktail or non-alcoholic cocktail in this case with a really good tart cocktail from a bartender anywhere in the city nowadays. You go and they have 4, 5, or 6 cocktails on their list, at least minimum. And then they might have one non-alcoholic beer or whatever. But it's like nowadays, especially this month of January, people who is doing dry January, it does not necessarily mean that they're not going to go out to a bar, they're not going to go out to a restaurant.
Yeah.
And this also keeps the restaurant alive, because people still consuming, people still going out in there and, connect, have a conversation, have a dinner, have a lunch, whatever they want to do, but it's still having a choice of having different cocktails with, really good stuff.
And I think we have this conversation, Vera, about like inclusivity in restaurants because, obviously the goal of a restaurant or cocktail bar is to sell alcoholic cocktails, but there is also people that associate if I go out but I don't drink, I'm not going to have the same fun or anything. I mean, we're social and we like to have that experience of like, I'd rather be at home because people are going to be drinking out, or should I go out and knowing that I just don't want to pay for a cranberry and soda.
Yeah.
And I feel like nowadays, the amount of bartenders also that they put their time, knowledge, and everything to make a non-alcoholic cocktail, not just because, it's for people who are like, dry January, right? But also for people who wants to be at the bar with their friends, but they don't drink alcohol, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, bringing up inclusivity. I mean, I remember working at the Italian restaurant and the chef getting absolutely furious that someone asked for a gluten-free pasta, and I think there was an evolution in food menus with gluten-free, vegan, vegetarian, celiac, right? Like all these other options that to some degree you kind of had to make available, even if it was for 3 people that walked in on one night, one person that walked in on one night. But that person then felt super welcome to your space. They know they can rely on it being an incredible pasta dish or whatever it may be. And we saw the evolution on the food side. And I think now we're seeing a similar evolution on the drink side is, maybe it doesn't have alcohol, but it's a sessionable, elegant, elevated serve that someone spent equally as much time kind of crafting the layers, infusing, using different techniques and skills that they learned and mastered to be able to get creative with something like this. Because you can make, a few bucks off of a glass of orange juice, but they're probably only going to have that one glass, It is still a significant amount of sugar and acidity, and some people just don't want to have more than one glass of orange juice. Yeah. So you're better off selling something more sessionable that is more elevated, more elegant in the serve that you can still sip on for, half an hour, maybe less, maybe more, depending on the person. And you mentioned it's like using it to create some balance as well. And I don't think it's it's not alcohol or non-alc, it's alcohol and non-alc. Like it's using it to kind of break it up a little in between. I have my Boilermakers still, right? Like I'll still have my tequilita with a non-alc cocktail as my like other sipper on the side, right?
Exactly, yeah.
So I kind of go back and forth in between the two, and I love it, honestly. Like that's the balance I was looking for. Because it's easy to get a little too fun, on the booze side. Not that wasn't fun. It was a great time.
Actually,
but
why don't we try one of those little
let's do it.
there? And then you can probably tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So Ritual is your one-to-one replacement. It's intended to be just kind of your the ASMR.
Yeah, I love that noise.
Yeah. It's intended to be your one-to-one replacement. It is entirely meant to be mixed. Again, I don't think we're at a point yet where we're sipping non-alcs necessarily, but think of the application of this and how it's gonna, bloom and open up in a cocktail in the way that you would approach kind of like an Angostura bitter, right? You know that when you taste Angostura on its own, it's not the way that it's gonna taste in the cocktail. Sorry, the
OCD.
It's killing me.
Yeah, it's okay. I didn't want to be like too much in your space, but thank you, Vero.
It's okay. Think of how it's going to add to the cocktail, right? So the way that, again, we approach a bitter, we know that that's not what we're aiming for unless you're having a shot of Ango, which is a different story. But if you're just using it in an old-fashioned, or if you're using it to add a layer of flavor or complexity to a cocktail, similar thing here, right? How do you make a margarita, for example, without the tequila? the way that I used to make it back in the day was I would either add water or I would shake the heck out of it just to try and fill the volume in the glass, right? And so using like our agave alternative for either Ritual or SEEDLIP to take a place in a non-alc margarita is a great way to kind of add, again, that layer of flavor without it being just like a limeade, right? Yeah. Because if it's a limeade or if it's a lemonade, then that's like easy peasy. Again, you can sell it for like $7-8 and they'll have one and that's it. Versus where if it's a sessionable cocktail, it might be, they'll revisit it. They'll have more than one, and they might actually also just end up having a really elegant serve of a booze beside it, right? So this is the Ritual rum alternative.
Cheers. Salud. For you guys watching us, salud. Cheers.
So this is going to be take on kind of like a spiced rum. So you're going to get notes of cinnamon, chocolate, definitely some oak in there. I really love it. It's one of my favorites to try on their own. I think on the aroma, I'm going to put it here.
Yeah.
Delicious.
I had a non-alcoholic Jungle Bird. I think I mentioned this to you with the Ritual 0 proof. And some of the, alternatives also there.
Yeah. I love it in a Jungle Bird. Yeah.
It's a great cocktail.
Yeah.
Just to mention one, they commit so many.
Yeah. So good. More of a spiced rum alternative. You can play with it in something as simple as a rum and coke or, a dark and stormy. But you can also make mojitos, or you can use it as the same way that you would rum, but just with no alcohol, right? Yeah. There's some capsaicin in there, which gives you a little bit of that heat on the finish.
I was going to say that. I feel like it's spicy here, and it's good.
Yeah. So I think it'll trick some people. I think with the world of non-alcs too, if someone's like stone cold sober, more often than not, they're probably just avoiding the category as a whole. So really the people that are drinking non-alcs are people who are looking for that balance. So they understand that because it's a lifestyle choice that they've already actively made, right? And I think that's important because I think the capsaicin here can get a little tricky in terms of conversation because people, start asking, oh, well, is this going to be triggering for some people? Yeah. And I think it can be, so we have to also be kind of cautious of that.
Well, people also think it might be spicy. But it's not spicy. Yeah. It's just a lingering sensation that it's actually to kind of create the lingering sensation. Yeah.
Totally. Well, and also I think in spirits, there's a lot of more often than not, there's like a peppery characteristic to it, right? So when you shake it in a cocktail, you lose sometimes with non-alc spirits, you lose kind of that heat. And so with this, the capsaicin that we incorporate into all of them, it allows for a little bit of that body and texture when you shake it in a cocktail, when you mix it with other things. And so normally I would suggest opening it up with some soda water at least. But honestly, this one I kind of love.
I have some soda water here for you.
Okay, yeah, let's do it.
We're gonna do a soda water.
We also have the
ginger ale, right?
Yeah, we do have the ginger ale.
I have the ginger.
Yeah.
Ginger.
Do you want to do the honors, Vero?
Well, how much time do we have? Do we want to do maybe the spritz instead? Now that we've tried.
Let's do the spritz.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So what about we talk about?
Okay, I can go through these like a little quickly if you want.
And then with the okay, cool. And then you can
just one spritz. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, we're gonna take this water, and then we go back to talking. We were talking about this. Then we can talk about this, and then the last one, and then do the very tip. Okay. All right. So, I really get the spiciness, and I really like it. But then also you have this expression, which is
gin.
The gin. I'm going to show it over here.
Perfect for a gin and tonic.
I've put some use to it. The gin is one of my favorites. Again, I think thinking of the before and after when you're trying non-alc spirits in general is quite important. Again, me, just because I made cocktails, I like the before and after, but I like it specifically so that you can see how it opens up, how it evolves. Because I think where non-alc spirits as a category get a really rough feedback from people or like a hard time is that they don't taste like booze. And I think it's very impressive in that it's important to just kind of know what it tasted like before, but then 100%, 1000% give it a shot after with opening it up with some soda water or tonic. I think that's important. So
Do you want to try this?
No, it's okay. I've had them so many times. Yeah, here, I can take it. And then if you try it on its own, it's going to be a thicker viscosity. There's some xanthan gum in there as well to kind of elongate the body. We want to make sure it doesn't get lost when you mix it. We don't want it to taste like tea, just like on its own. Like, we don't want it to just taste like you added flavored water. We want it to actually complement and mix well with the ingredients that you're using in the cocktail. So tasting it on its own, I think you'll see that it's maybe a little flat on its own. But I like that before, because when we open it up with some tonic, I think that's where the juniper, the cucumber, the mint really, really, really shine, honestly.
I have some tonic.
Perfect.
Thank you for bringing it.
Okay, let me...
Ready.
Just splash, yeah. Okay. Honestly, just a splash is fine.
Okay. Let's see.
Because it's really just to show how it opens up.
It's the piney notes on there.
Yeah. The juniper comes through really beautifully. And I also, something like a French 75 or like a bee's knees, I think is really fun to use with the gin because it has a little bit of this floral characteristic to it when you breathe out. And so I love using it. I think it's very versatile. You can use it in many different ways. But I think this one has one of the most impressive kind of before and afters, which I really love.
Yeah, and then it gives you also, like, for bartenders, you can infuse it and it's easy to use with a lot of different things.
Yeah. We just have to be careful with infusions sometimes because there is a shelf life on them, since there's no alcohol in there. We just have to be cautious of those things. And like any bacteria that might grow and whatever. So definitely don't put them in anywhere like that's super hot.
Yeah, I'm going to pass it.
But... something to definitely have some fun with for sure. And then this is the aperitif alternative. My personal favorite. I love a Negroni. That was my shift drink after work. So Negronis were really my go-to. And I think what we see out in the non-alc shelves right now, a lot of is aperitifs that still taste a little on the sweeter side. I love a bitter. I love that pull. I love that astringency. Yeah. If you want to also maybe throw a splash of tonic in there, I think it does it quite well.
We're learning from the expert.
Oh, wow. That looks so refreshing.
It's so good, honestly.
It reminds me.
I love the aperitif. It's my favorite.
Yeah, actually, I had it before. Obviously, I had this before, but my favorite is this one.
Yeah, I think it's really fun because it can play like a Campari-esque, right? It's going to have a similar pull on the sides.
Yeah, I love the bitterness in there because it's normally what you get in your classic Camparis. Okay. And you can make a Campari, an alcoholic Sbagliato. You can make an alcoholic Negroni with these variations. You can make so many things.
Well, you've made a Boulevardier. It's delicious.
Oh, yeah, I did.
It's really
that was
good.
really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, but you can add a little sugar too and also have it play on the other side, right?
No, but that's basically what we're trying to, replicate flavors of other things so your brain, if you're now drinking, it doesn't have to be
I think it's important to draw the parallels where
exactly.
It's like, how does this make sense in what we have?
Exactly.
Because I think there's been a lot of hesitation in the past with non-alcs because it's flavored water, because, it's never going to taste like alcohol. And I think there's got to be another hat that we put on when we think about non-alcs. It's the flavor that it's adding, the complementary flavors that are kind of the layers that are being added when you're thinking of the build of the cocktail. You will have to adjust sugar. You'll have to adjust citrus. You'll have to adjust dilution to fit the spirit. But these are really all things that we already do, right? As we're building cocktails, whether we're sous videing something, whether we're pre-batching, whatever it is, we have to adjust accordingly based on the ingredients that we're bringing in. So this is really just another ingredient.
Yeah.
It's, a tool to be able to tend to a different audience with a cocktail list that you already have.
Yeah.
Or, create more options and varieties for people who are looking for them. And I think just promoting it and letting people know that it's there, whether it's through your online menu, through your social media platforms, or, it's Dry January, sending a newsletter or a blast to your newsletter followers, letting them know that you've got the options,
Yeah.
I think is huge because people are looking for the spaces where they can go and looking where they can host people who they're being mindful of, who don't drink.
Yeah, and then doesn't necessarily have to be all dry January. It could be throughout the year.
Yeah.
Or if you want to incorporate it in a low proof menu, you can also add some of these ingredients and, keep it at low.
Yeah.
I know that a lot of people nowadays want to have also low proof cocktails. So this is an option.
Yeah, I remember one of the master classes that you did at Freeman's, and I tried this. You mentioned that you said if you want an old fashioned or a boulevardier that is low alcohol, you can substitute some part of the alcohol with the aperitif. And I try it, and it's really good. And like you said, there is these days that people want to commit out like non-alcoholic, and they don't also, sometimes we have this kind of shaming, right? When you go to places and it's like, I want something with non-alcohol, or like people who says like before, I want something with vodka, and bartenders will be like, oh, vodka, or like non-alcoholic. Yeah. But now I feel like, you go places and you feel comfortable that you're going to find something that, not necessarily have alcohol.
Yeah, everywhere in the city. And if you guys see any Ritual sitting on the shelves, give you guys a taste, or ask for a taste. It's never, you can always ask, and I'm sure the bartenders will reach out for the bottle and be like, hey, what can you make with that? Yeah. Since it's the month of it, why not going out and try it?
Yeah, I mean, that's another thing too, right? Is that you can use it in cocktails, but you can also use it in highballs, right? Like, it's not just the cocktail serve that's on the menu. You can use it in the way that you would spirits.
Exactly.
And I think you mentioned something very important, which is going back to that hospitality piece. There are still times where I go to places not like New York City, because obviously New York City is like eons, I feel like, and it's so mature for non-alc spirits. Everybody here has 5-6 options on the menu. But there's other places where they're like, that has no alcohol in it. Are you sure? And I'm like, yeah, I'm positive, And
I think also people get scared because sometimes they think, oh, the price is, why am I charging the same amount of price sometimes?
Yeah, I think you see that in more
Prices,
blue-collar cities for sure.
Yeah.
Because, they're way more mindful about where they're spending the money, and I think that's perfectly reasonable. But it's that shame, right? That, like, that has no alcohol. Like, are you sure? And I think it's that shame where it's like, am I sure? Where it's, instead of kind of questioning the decision, it's more, oh, that's like, validating the decision. That's a great choice off of our non-alcoholic menu. There's a way to say it without necessarily almost kind of judging it in a negative way. And I think that feeling, again, back to kind of hospitality, it's the way that we make people feel in the space and when they were interacting with us. And that's one of those ways in which we can start, reframing the hospitality around non-alcs, where there is a way to validate the choice for the non-alcoholic menu while also reiterating that it's coming from the non-alcoholic section of the menu.
Exactly.
Especially as the sections start to get a little more creative in the section titles, right?
Exactly.
Some people have them as off the wagon or on the wagon. Some people have them as, the sober selection. Some people have them as, the names are getting creative.
Yeah.
More and more creative by the day. And some are just not as on the nose. So some people can 100% accidentally order cocktail off the non-alcoholic menu, but there's a way to get ahead of the error.
Yes.
And minimize waste while also kind of making them feel good about their choice. I think with the evolution of non-alc menus and kind of where we're seeing is important to just keep an eye on. But I think there are a lot more options that are being made available outside of just non-alc spirits that are literally just intended to be non-alcoholic. There's also like the THC beverages, right? There's also the adaptogens. And I think some of those, for example, pregnant women can't have. And I think it's important to make that distinction within the non-alc sections, or just train your teams and train the servers and the bartenders to be able to communicate that, because some people might be ordering non-alcoholic not knowing that. It's not, I think, common knowledge yet. We're slowly working in that direction. But I think as this evolution happens, we definitely want to, be cautious of like any missteps along the way. Sometimes things veer one way more than the other, and non-alc spirits, they're there to be a clean ingredient for you to use for literally anybody that wants to have a non-alcoholic beverage. Now, if you're looking for something that's a little more kind of euphoric in a way, I think it's an important distinction to make, as the evolution of this continues, because I think we're really only getting started. This is truly just the beginning, and it's been very cool to be a part of kind of that. The inception of that in the industry, it's been a great opportunity.
And I feel also within the industry, one of the things that I really like to say, not just for the industry, is like everybody's body is their choice, right? My body, my choice, whatever I want to drink or not drink. But at the same time, we also are community, and sometimes dealing with an addiction or something, we can reach out to other people, or we can make sure that there is a space for that as well. And I love that you're coming, Vero, because I feel like this podcast is for New York and for other places. And I hope that people see it, and if they have questions and everything, I guess they can reach out to you or Ritual to have education for their team.
Yeah. That's important.
Yeah, but thank you so much for coming.
Can you share your handles one more time so folks can reach out to you?
Yeah.
And if they want to try it, if they would love to try it.
Absolutely. I'm Vero from the Sea on Instagram.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's where you can find me.
Yeah.
Sorry if it takes a while for me to get back to you, but I do check it ever so often. Yeah.
And so we're gonna also put it on YouTube, so people they can find it.
Yeah.
And definitely, guys, if you have questions about Ritual, about Vero, you can comment, and we can let her know.
Yeah.
And don't forget to subscribe, follow us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Definitely, we want to play with the algorithm so
Follow
we can.
me on the street.
Yes.
No. Don't follow me on the street.
We want to follow each other, but also we want to get big, and we love showing you what is happening in New York City. And definitely don't forget to tip your bartenders.
Don't forget to tip your bartenders.
And everybody else in the
Be
industry.
generous. There's a lot of work that goes in your cocktails that you don't see.
That's true.
Yeah. And we also run a donation page. If you want to donate to our podcast, there is a Buy Me a Coffee application and a webpage here in the comment section. So please support us.
And for more episodes, you guys can also check out website
www.bartalkingbarnyc.com.
I love saying that. It sounds good. Thank you for another episode.
Thank you guys for
It was
having
a
me.
very nice beginning of the year.
Thanks for chatting, Inez, and asking me about my life. My gosh.
No, it's amazing. It's amazing.
Barely covered the surface.
Yeah. We love you guys. Thank you. Have a good.
See you later, alligator.
See you.
Is there an old saying in Miami that you can say? Like, see you later, alligator, something similar?
Ciao, pescado.
Ciao, pescado.
Ciao, ciao.
So, yeah.